For 30 years, Johnny Carson charmed millions as America's Tonight Show host, but behind the smile, he hid deep regrets. Despite his fame, he was intensely private, concealing mistakes and disappointments until his death. One major regret was his fallout with Joan Rivers, his longtime friend and substitute host, who he blacklisted after she launched her own show without telling him. Though he later regretted it, they never reconciled during his lifetime. Carson also bitterly regretted personal mistakes like marrying Joanna Holland without a prenup, which led to costly divorces and millions lost. These experiences fueled his cynical jokes about relationships, revealing his true feelings beneath the polished persona. Johnny Carson's biggest regrets: the untold stories. After his costly divorces, Johnny warned Ed McMahon, "Never marry anyone without a lawyer. Love fades, but alimony is forever." This hard-earned lesson shaped his final marriage to Alexis Moss in 1987, with a detailed prenup, and lasted until his death, alienating his son. Rick Carson's youngest son, Rick, struggled with mental illness, DUIs, and hospitalizations. Johnny, steeped in Midwestern stoicism, kept emotional distance and relied on money rather than personal support. Rick died in a car crash in 1991. Though Carson rarely spoke publicly about it, insiders say the loss devastated him. Friends recall Johnny expressing rare regret, admitting he should have done more, ignoring Richard Pryor. Despite Pryor's genius and cultural impact, Carson rarely booked him on The Tonight Show. NBC worried Pryor's unpredictable, raw style wouldn't fit the mainstream audience. Carson, uncomfortable with surprises, kept Pryor at arm's length. Near the end of his career, Johnny admitted this was a mistake, saying Pryor was one of the best we ever had. But by then, Pryor's health had declined, and the opportunity was lost. Never reconnecting with Don Rickles was a frequent guest with electric on-screen chemistry. But after a 1970s joke crossing a personal boundary about Carson's divorce and alimony, Johnny never fully forgave him. Though he tried to patch things up later, the warmth never returned, a rift that haunted him. The fallout with Don Rickles. Johnny never shouted or made scenes. He went cold, and Rickles instantly knew he'd crossed a line with a joke about Carson's divorce. Though Rickles kept appearing on The Tonight Show, their warmth faded. In the late 80s, Johnny tried to reconnect, inviting Rickles to dinner, but the special bond was gone. Carson later admitted, "I wish I hadn't let that one joke change things." Rickles acknowledged Carson's legendary talent, but also his stubborn grudges. A cold exit from television. When Johnny retired in 1992 after 30 years on The Tonight Show, he declined interviews, tributes, and public farewells. Privately, he regretted not thanking the staff and fans properly, saying, "I left the party without saying goodbye." This abrupt exit contributed to his isolation and made his transition from public figure difficult. Trusting NBC. Too much Carson's long partnership with NBC was lucrative but fraught with control battles. He didn't own The Tonight Show until 1981, missing out on millions by waiting too long. NBC often considered replacing him, even during peak ratings, something Johnny saw as betrayal. He later regretted not going independent sooner and not pushing for more control earlier. Being too hard on Chevy Chase. Chevy Chase's 1970s Tonight Show appearance was awkward and tense. Chase seemed arrogant and unprepared, even joking about Carson's divorces, crossing a personal line. Carson banned him from returning, but later admitted he was probably too harsh and should have given Chase another chance. Not supporting female comedians. Carson largely excluded female comedians from The Tonight Show in the 70s and 80s, aside from Joan Rivers and a few others. He believed audiences preferred pretty, non-threatening women and funny men, missing out on many groundbreaking female talents. Later, Carson acknowledged this was a mistake and regretted not booking more women sooner, spending too much time alone. After retiring, Carson became increasingly reclusive, rarely leaving his Malibu home or attending events. Friends said he built a perfect bubble that became a prison. Despite his fame and success, Carson confessed in a letter that though he made millions laugh, most nights he sat alone. Johnny Carson's withdrawal from the spotlight went far beyond simple introversion or a desire for privacy. It was as if he was deliberately trying to erase himself from public memory, a retreat so complete that even those who loved him struggled to reach him. Yet, as the years passed, cracks appeared in the fortress he had built. Carson began to question the very walls he'd constructed around himself. Though physically distant, he stayed connected in subtle ways, maintaining subscriptions to entertainment magazines, calling old colleagues to chat about shows that caught his eye, keeping faint ties to the world he had once dominated. One of his most revealing moments came in a handwritten letter sent around 2001, just 3 years before his death. In it, Carson confided, "I made millions laugh, but most nights I sit by myself." A raw admission that peeled back the curtain on the loneliness beneath the laughter. This growing awareness of isolation's cost sparked small changes in his final years. He started meeting more regularly with a close circle of friends, ventured out to local Malibu restaurants, and even toyed with the idea of a limited television comeback, though declining health would stop him. As his longtime friend and attorney Henry Bushkin reflected, Johnny's greatest regret wasn't about his career at all. It was that he had built a life that looked flawless on the surface, but was, at its core, profoundly lonely. He erected walls to shield himself from the pressures of fame, only to find himself trapped behind them, unsure how to tear them down when he wanted to. These 10 regrets reveal a Johnny Carson far more complex than the polished, effortless host who lit up American living rooms for 3 decades. Behind the practiced smile and impeccable timing was a man wrestling with intimacy, fiercely holding grudges, missing both personal and professional chances, and ultimately isolating himself with the very barriers he'd put in place for protection. What makes Carson's story so poignant is the stark contrast between his extraordinary success and his private struggles. He achieved everything he set out for: wealth, influence, respect, and a cultural legacy. Yet alongside these triumphs were failed marriages, strained family ties, professional missteps, and a solitary retirement that felt worlds away from the connected life his audience imagined. Perhaps the most telling insight comes from Carson himself in one of his rare post-retirement reflections. When asked if he missed The Tonight Show, he said, "I miss the applause. I miss the confirmation of what I'm doing. But I don't miss the burden." This tension between craving connection yet fearing it, needing affirmation but resenting its weight, defined the contradictions at Carson's core. He was a man who made millions feel they truly knew him, yet he remained an enigma, bringing joy to countless homes while quietly struggling to find it in his own. In the end, Carson's regrets humanize the legend. They transform him from the flawless television icon preserved in memory into something far more authentic and valuable. A gifted but flawed individual whose battles and disappointments echo our own, only on a grander scale. Johnny Carson's true legacy lies not just in his perfect comic timing or legendary interviews, but in the complex humanity beneath them, the missed paths, the relationships left unhealed, and the regrets he carried quietly until the end. Like Carson himself, this legacy is both brilliant and bittersweet, a reminder that even those who seem to have it all often wonder what might have been. If you love Hollywood gossip, celebrity news, and all things star-studded, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notifications so you never miss an update. Also, drop a comment below